In this video lesson, we are going to learn how to calculate the area of rectangles and squares. What is area? Area is the amount of surface within a figure. It is described using square units. So to measure area, we use 1 by 1 squares. And basically what we do is we take the length and width of something and break it down into 1 by 1 squares. And then add them up together, and that gives us the area. So here we have a rectangle, and we know it is 10 centimeters by 4 centimeters. So what I've done here is I've broken the length down into 10 squares. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I've done that going throughout. And my width is 4 centimeters, so you'll see that it's broken down into 4 widthwise. And to find the area, all you do is I know that a 1 by 1 square has an area of 1 centimeter squared, so you're going to add up all the squares that are in this rectangle. And when you add them all up, we get 40 centimeters squared. But guess what? There's actually a formula that can make it easier to calculate the area, and let's go through that in the next slide. To find the area of a square or rectangle, use the following formula. Area is equal to the length, which is abbreviated L, times width, which is abbreviated W. The abbreviations total are A is equal to L times W. And the answer that we get when we multiply those two numbers together must be expressed in square units. So if we were given the length in centimeters, our final answer would be centimeters squared. If we were given meters, our final answer would be meters squared. If it was kilometers, it would be kilometers squared, and so forth. So make sure your final answer is squared. Remember, in perimeter, we do not square the final answer. It's just in its actual centimeters, meters, whatever, because we're just finding the length and the perimeter around the border. We're not finding the actual surface, how much it's covering. Okay, so let's do an example. We've got a square piece of property and we want to find the area of it. The measure of one side is 75 meters. Well, I know it's a square, so I know that the length and the width will actually be the same. So they're going to be 75 meters by 75 meters. Okay, and we're trying to find the area, so I know area is equal to the length times the width. And I'm going to plug that in, so area is equal to 75 meters times 75 meters. And you can just do this on a scrap piece of paper, so go 75 times 75 and multiply and regroup. And when you multiply and regroup and add up the two partial products, your final answer is 5,625 meters squared. So the area of a square piece of property that measures 75 meters on one side is 5,625. See, it's pretty easy. We're just multiplying the length and width together to find the area. The only tricky part is you have to remember that units are squared in this case, and for perimeter they are not squared. They're just whatever the unit was because we're adding them together, not multiplying them as we are with area. Okay? Let's do one more example. Chelsea's lot is shaped like a rectangle. I'm going to underline rectangle. If it is 55 meters long and 15 meters wide, what is the perimeter and area of her lot? Okay, so this question is a little more involved than the one we just did before. Here we have to find the perimeter and the area of her lot. Okay, so I've underlined my keywords. Oh, let's just underline 55 and 15 because those are important units that we need. We've got a rectangle. We want to find the perimeter and the area. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a picture because pictures make everything easier. So I know the length is 55 meters. I'm just writing that for both of the lengths. and the width is 15 meters. We've got the opposite side will also be the same. Okay, so let's start off by finding the perimeter of this, okay? So I know perimeter of a rectangle is equal to 2 times the length plus the width, okay? So I'm going to plug in the length and the width and determine the perimeter first. So I know P is equal to 2 times the length, which is 55, plus the width, which is 15. When I add those two numbers together, I get, let's do some quick math, I get 70. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, I'm correct. And then finally, we just have to multiply that by 2 because we've got 2 of each of those sides. So the total perimeter of Chelsea's lot is 140 meters. So if, say, Chelsea wanted to put a fence around this, she would need 140 meters of fencing. Okay? Now let's find the area of her lot. So I'm just going to draw a little line to kind of break that up. And I know area of a square or a rectangle has one formula, and its area is equal to length times width. Okay? Let's plug in the length and let's plug in the width. So we've got 55 meters times 15 meters. And we're just going to ignore the meters for now. And if you were to go off and do this math on a scrap piece of paper, 55 times 15, you would get a final answer of 825 meters squared. So say Chelsea wanted to put grass on this lot and not do anything but just put some grass, she would need to cover 825 meters squared of this grass, okay? Okay, so this is a word problem though, so we need to answer our question with a sentence. So we have to have a statement at the end. So Chelsea's lot is 140 meters in perimeter and 825 meters squared in area. Okay? And that's how easy this question actually was. It took a couple more steps to get to the final answer, but because we had those formulas, we could easily determine the area and the perimeter. So just to recap, the area of a square or rectangle is just the length times the width. If we're trying to find the perimeter, we've got to go and actually figure out if it's a square or a rectangle. And if it's a square, we use one formula. And if it's a rectangle, we use another formula. So make sure you know these three formulas pretty well. Time to do some practice questions in your learning guide. Good luck!